Steve Coogan!
I'm all right.
Oh, yeah, good to see you. Good to see you. Well, now, obviously, running a show like this, the first person I want to talk about is him, Alan Partridge,
yes.
talk show king. Now, how was he born, and more important, why?
Well, there are a lot of people who think he should have been strangled at birth.
Yeah.
But he's helped me pay the bills, so I quite like him, really. How was he born? He was born on Radio 4.
Oh, he started on radio? I didn't know.
Yeah, he started on Radio 4. It just said, there was a script, and it just sort of said sports presenter. And I sort of did this amalgam of every sports presenter I could think of. I sort of did this sort of voice that's very sort of professional, very enunciated, very clear, and very professional. It's one of those presenters who actually, even though he's not quite sure what to say next, keeps speaking, because that's what professionals do.
That's right, they do that. That would have been fine. I'd have been happy for Alan to stay there, but then he became a talk show host based on anyone in particular?
Oh.
What are you looking at me for? No? No, did you base him on anyone?
Well, he's sort of the recipe for Alan Partridge is sort of various ingredients. I was sort of a spoonful of Alan Titchmarsh, a ladleful of Richard Madeley, and you know, a few slices of David Coleman, sprinkled liberally with a bit of Des O'Connor.
Oh, thank you.
You see, no, but I'm just saying that the nicest possible way. I mean, you're like Alan Partridge is like you, but without the class.
Oh, you crawler, Steve, you crawler. A lot of people, Steve, didn't get the joke.
No, I know.
No, my cleaner lady, Jean, she came in and followed me and she said, "Did you see that obnoxious talk show host last night?" She said, "You're better than him."
It's funny, because my cleaning lady loves you.
Yes.
So there you go. But no, actually, I've got a couple of letters here. This is from when we first did the radio show. Yeah. And there was a lot of letters of complaint by people who thought he was real. And these are genuine letters of complaint. I'll just read you a bit out, right? Dear Sir, for 30 years or more, I've listened to Radio 4, and never once have I felt it necessary to write to you to protest about one of your programmes. Last Tuesday evening, I happened to hear a programme called Knowing Me, Knowing You with Alan Partridge. I turned it off and turned to Classic FM for a little soothing music. Last night, Alan Partridge was on the air again, and the first guest was a 9-year-old child genius with his father. I have to say that the child had more good manners in his little finger than Alan Partridge had in his 37-year-old body. And at the end of the interview, Partridge told the child that he thought he was a little shit. I consider this is outrageous behaviour, and Partridge should be shown the door immediately. If you think that being rude to people on radio programme is funny, then I can assure you that your listeners do not. I should like to suggest that this man's programme is taken off the air with immediate effect, and we hear no more of him at the BBC. And there's another one. It's slightly different one here. Here we are. One more. Dear Madam, Sir, I'm writing to request that the governors be asked to listen to a programme that I wished I had not heard. Last Tuesday, 1st December, on Radio 4 at 6:30 p.m, called Knowing Me, Knowing You. Mr. Alan Partridge would be the last person in the world I would wish to know, or indeed any of his researchers listed in the Radio Times. They're actually both written by women, but I just think it sounds better with an old bloke's voice.
Alan Partridge, you know, he made a few boo-boos along the way and got shunted up to Norwich doing morning regional radio, and we have a clip and it has to be seen to be believed.
Go on, you were talking about cow bringing in.
Yeah, we bring them in from milking, and then all that can go...
Pop the straitjackets on them.
What?
Thanks very much for being this morning's farmer, Robert Moon. Robert, did you have your breakfast this morning?
Well, I reckon the way things are...
Can you just answer yes for the purposes of a joke?
Yes.
In which case you must be a full moon. Hello?
I'm still here.
Yeah, I was making a pun on your name.
All right.
Anyway, thank you very much for being this morning's farmer. Caroline, line 4, hello.
Hello, Alan.
Hello.
Hello, yeah, have you got a brain, or is your head just full of shit?
Okay, Mike from Polgrave, are you there, sir?
Oh, you ignorant c...
He's definitely wasted on the radio. Get him back on the... Are we going to see more of him on TV?
Well, not for a while. We always think, you know, sort of less is more. I don't know what that means, but it sounds impressive. But no, we think we'll do something in a couple of years. But we think we've seen him at rock bottom. I think he should start to do well again. We're thinking of maybe getting him on sort of regional television news. You know, I can see him sort of in the next series, you know, going, hello and welcome to Look East with Alan Partridge. You know, and sort of doing some news stories on there. So he might be doing quite well in the next series. You know, I've got a slightly better car.
You are an actor, and a fine actor. Don't embarrass you, but you're a fine actor.
So I agree with you. I'll never argue with you, Des.
But Peter Sellers, a lot of the people that start off with impressions, like, you know, actors like I mean, that's the first grounding, and then they go onto films. What are your first impressions of your impressions? That
Very clever, very clever. That's sort of an Alanism. What are your first impressions of your impressions? The first thing I used to do all the... I told a friend I was coming on the show, and he said, please, whatever you do, don't do a Frank Spencer impression. That really is scraping the barrel. So, I'm afraid I'm going to disappoint you. So that was probably the first one I did, and then I went on to all the others. You know, I did Spitting Image for...
You did all the voices on that at one time?
Well, when you start off on Spitting Image, when you're sort of like trainee voice man, they let you do... you start off just... because there's people like Harry Enfield working on it, and Chris Barry, and I was a new boy, and all you get first of all is like do the voices of bits of fruit and things like that talk, you know.
Bits of fruit?
Yeah, well, you know, occasionally they animate bits of fruit and cabbages and things, and they say, who's the new boy? Steve, can you do the voice of this cabbage? And you know. Hello, I'm a cabbage. There's not a lot you can do with that, you know. And then eventually, you know, when they all go, you start to get you're sort of very keen. You go, they say, oh, who can do Neil Kinnock? You go, oh, can I do him? I can do Neil Kinnock. You know, hello, that's right. You know, speak like that, but little Paddy. You know.
Was that before or after your radio commercial days?
Oh,
that's a grounding.
It is. I used to do loads of radio commercials. I did all those. I did things like get down to Top Man today. Horrible acrylic sweaters only $3.99. Horrible polyester trousers only $14.99. It's all going to go. So hurry, hurry, hurry. I did that. You know, which is. I never thought I'd get a round of applause for that. You know.
Well, people recognise that instantly.
They do, but it's always struck me as bizarre because nobody ever speaks like that. Nobody speaks like that in the real world. Imagine going for a drink to the pub and someone saying, "Hey, Des, what are you having? I'm going to the bar to get the drinks in. It's last ordered and it's your round, so hurry, hurry, hurry." People don't speak like that. It was so bizarre. And the thing is, because I'm a northerner, I've got a northern accent, but I did a lot of those straight voiceovers. I'd sort of turn up at the studio and they'd say, "Are you here to do the straight voice?" And that's the kind of BBC type voiceover. And I'd turn up and say, "All right, now let's get this over," and we go down pub, you know, and they'd say, "OK, and we're recording now," and I go, "Now there's even more for your money at Asda." And, smooth, and I do other stuff like you'd get these kind of... They'd have some really crummy, unfunny sketch, and afterwards you'd have to put a sort of laugh in your voice and say, "If you want a better deal from Ford," then, you know, you'd have to sort of pretend to laugh at what we're doing for.
You did a great Wogan.
I did a good Wogan, which I used to do the "Hello, and welcome to Wogan. And on tonight's show, apart from talking a load of baloney for the first 5 minutes, I'm going to be doing all kinds of ballyhoo." That's right.
You got a West End stage show started.
That's right. I'm doing a big show.
At the Lyceum. It's a one-man show.
Sort of one man. There's lots of dancers and musicians and things.
Alan Partridge going to be there?
Oh, he'll be there. Yeah.
Tony Farina.
Tony Farina, Paul Calf, Pauline Calf, and you know, a few other stuff, and lots of sketches and singing and dancing. It's sort of. Because a lot of comedians go around just sort of standing in front of a microphone. I thought, you know, I'm going to put on a proper show. Yeah. The old days, you know, proper shows. You know about that, don't you?
Theatre, I remember that.
Yeah.
But thanks for... I'm taking it. You don't do this very often, just sitting there as Steve.
Only for special people.
Steve Coogan! Good on you, Steve. Steve Coogan!